Welcome, everybody. Especially welcome and thank you to you, Bindaji, and also to Prakash for sure. So we're going to continue this extended classes for the Taittareeya Upanishad, and just so everyone knows, the replays are available here for the first 17 classes, as well as classes on other Upanishads and our Sunday Q&As. And very many additional and important Upanishads are available on replay on Bindaji's YouTube channel, which is called Advaita Retold, and you can also search it under Advaitic Talks. So please take advantage of those and join us Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday here at 8:30 p.m. IST. I think those are the most important things, other than if you're new, in the Dropbox up above, there's a Sanskrit transliteration and English for the mantras in a translation that Bindaji has put together. And then also in the chat, there's a volume in which there is in English Shankara's commentaries on the Taittareeya, and on the chapter that we're on, the second one starts on page 103 if you want to pursue your studies outside of this class.
Thank you, Atmisha. Thank you, Prakash. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibeda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Taittareeya Upanishad Brahmananda Buddhi Shanti Mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः प्रथमानुवाक ॐ ब्रह्मविदाप्नोति परम् तदेषाभ्युक्ता सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तम् ब्रह्म यो वेद निहितम् गुहायाम् परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति तस्मात् वा एतस्मादात्मन आकाशः सम्भूतः आकाशाद् वायुः वायोरग्निः अग्नेरापः अद्यः पृथिवी पृथिव्या औषधयः औषधेभ्यो अन्नम् अन्नात् पुरुषः स वा एष पुरुषोन्नरसमयः तस्येदमेव शिरः अयम् दक्षिणः पक्षः अयमुत्तरः पक्षः अयमात्मा इदम् पुच्छम् प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. Om. So we have been listening to the Shankara Bhashyam commentary, Shankara's commentary on the Prathamanuvak, where he had explained from Brahmavid apnoti param tadesha abhyukta satyam jnanam anandam brahma yo veda nihidam guhayam parame vyoman so asnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti. This we have completed now, and we are now going to tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhudaha onwards. So what Acharya is saying is that the Brahmavid apnoti param satyam jnanam anandam, all those things are sutra forms or aphorism type, sutras from the mantras from the Taittareeya Upanishad. They have got very deep meaning, and that has been what we have been studying and discussing in detail. And what is the benefit of a person who is knowing Brahman, Brahmavit, one who knows Brahman. Apnoti param means pervades, param means extreme or the maximum. So, and then Brahma, what is Brahma? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, put together is the Lakshyartha for Brahma. Even though they individually are adjectives, they put together becomes the intended meaning for the word Brahma. Brihatvad Brahma, or the one which is all pervasive. That is the literal meaning of the word Brahma. But how can Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam, three independent adjectives, also stand for Brahman? That is what we have discussed. Satyam is that which never changes, or which always remains the truth or the unchanging. Jnanam is the one where there is Chaitanya, or the knowledge or consciousness which is there, and all things other than that is Jada, or in the Anurta, and on that Jnana side. Then Anantam, the literal meaning of Anantam is Na Antam Yasya, that which doesn't have an ending. So here we have to take the ending or the limitation of Anantam. The word Antam means limited by space, time and objectivity. Vastu kala paricheda, desha kala vastu paricheda, yatra nasti tad anantam. So how can that be anantam if there is no vastu paricheda, is what we discussed in the last class, where we said that, ananyatvad, where there is no separation from Brahma, anything which is appearing. So this, having discussed the Lakshyartha for Brahma, the Upanishad says that Ya Vedaha, one who knows, Nihidam means residing, Guhayam, in the heart or in the cavity of the knowledge, place where it shows the Andakarana or the Buddhi. Parame Vyoman, as the supreme sky which is outside the body, for the body and inside the body. So that is the way in which the space has to be seen, which is all encompassing. One who knows but through the Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam as Brahma, also in his own bosom. That is the Avritta Chakshu. When you look inward to see the reality, I am also part of that creation. So whatever may be the secrets of creation should be embedded or should be prevailing in me also. But my knowledge about myself is that I am limited, conditioned by my sense organs, limitation of my sense organs, limited by my physicality of the body. All these things are limited. So how can it be Anantam? The Anantam is now has to be understood from the point of view that we are all, even though we may feel the separation or limitation and all, our true nature is from which we have come, or from where this appearance of the individuality and the world outside, bifurcation of I and other than me, that bifurcation has sprung or is residing. That Brahma is what is to be understood. These are all in the cryptic way the Upanishad has mentioned. And he says that, the Upanishad says that one who knows that Brahman like this, Saha Asnute Sarvan Kaman Saha. Immediately, instantaneously, when you know your true nature or your reality, Sarvan Kaman Saha Asnute. You are fulfilling all your desires because you become not separate from everything. So everything is not separate from you. Here now we do not know our nature. So everything is separate from me other than myself. But the moment you know our true nature, or our reality, or our Atma Swarupa, or our Swabhava. When we know this reality, that is the time when we know that Ananyatvam, there is no separation between me and others. This aspect of seeing separation is due to my not knowing my reality or not knowing my nature. Therefore, the moment I know my nature, my true nature, not limited by the sense organs and physical body, I identify myself as Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam, or Satchidanandam Brahma. And the moment I know that I am Brahma, or my true nature, this I, the ego and the limitations of the body are due to the identification or perceiving through the mind, the physical mind which is in the body or the brain, and the heart which we are coupled together. So when we are limited by that, we feel we are limited human beings and limited. But when we know that we are the consciousness which the mind is able to mind, yet manasa namanute yenahur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam viddhi. That is not to be known as Brahman. That by which our mind is capable of knowing, the knowledge in the vrittis or in the thoughts or in the experiences of the mind, there is the subject, object and the act of knowing. But this subject, object and act of knowing in the mind is only possible when the knowledge is enlightening the mind to know things. When the mind is not being enlightened by that, the mind is, even though present, is incapable of doing that. That is what happens when we are in our deep sleep. Our mind becomes no mind, but we cannot deny our own existence. So there is Sat, or the existence, Satyam, persistently available. At no point of time I can deny my own existence. That Sat is present, but my knowledge aspect is not present. And the Anantada, or the Ananyatvam of myself and otherness is diminished or dissolved in my deep sleep. So I have my Satyam and Anantada available in my deep sleep, which I am knowing that I knew nothing, I had a good sleep, that I was present there, not as the individual. Even though the individual is making the statement, the individuality or the ego was not present that in the deep sleep. So the Upanishad says that when we are knowing that we were present as Sat and Ananta, in that there is the aspect of knowledge also present, but there was no instrument to know that knowledge. Therefore, we did not know. It is not that the knowledge was not there. Jnanam was not absent. Visheshana abhavat. Visheshana abhavat means there is no separation or separate quality to separate to know something, because we are only familiar with that type of knowledge where something is known. The object in every experience or every thought is separate from me and I am the knower. The subject and the object aspect is there. That is not present in our deep sleep. But that doesn't mean that we knew nothing. Even though we say that we knew nothing, it is with respect to we knew nothing which I was knowing in my waking and the dream. But I knew nothing, the knowing of nothingness in the deep sleep, which we recall as a pratyavijna in our waking, is due to the fact that the knowledge or that jnanam was also present there. Therefore, Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam as a Swarupa, in the Swarupa Avastha, or in the pure nature of my own reality, I was present in my deep sleep. But I have no way to know it, because Vijnatar Vijnate Viparilopo na Vidyate Avinashitvat. That subject which knows Vijnati, as things outside, viparilopo na vidyate. The subject doesn't get diminished. The subject is present, but there is no way in which the subject knows something, because there is nothing vitnyati. The objects for the subject to know was not present. Not a dvitiya masti, because there was not a second thing present in that knowledge to know separately. So the knowing of oneself, that is the way whether we can know ourselves, but not as separate object, as an objectified knowledge, but as a subject. My presence or my being is not a knowledge, but it's a being. It is a sat avastha. And Anandada is also explained that. That is Brahmana vipaschitayati. That is the one, how the Brahman is to be known in that. One who knows that he has everything, to the knowledge that everything comes from him. The example only we can take is our dream. Like how from the Atma, the space for the dream is created, and the mind is created for knowing the dream, and that mind is encompassed or enshrouded in a dreamer experience. Thereafter, it is subject-object knowledge between the dreamer and the world of the dreaming. Everything, including the activity of dreaming and knowing everything in the dream. This aspect of creation, of creating the space for the dream and then creating the mind in it, and the mind thereafter knowing everything in the dream. This possible for us to know only from the point of view of a waker. But the same thing cannot be applied by a waker, because we are already become the waker, and in waker cannot get out to know about the creation of waking. Therefore, we are handicapped with that. But inference from what happens in our dream world is exactly what we experience in our waking also. One is a subtle field compared to the waking, but compared to the waking itself, when it is lost, we do not know where all the grossness of all the objects of the waking has merged or dissolved in. Therefore, the appearance of solidity of the waking world or the matter in the waking world is also relative from the point of view of the absolute. Therefore, we need to understand this comparison to our dream experience and our waking experience. This is where we stopped in the last class. Now, coming to this, where we are now going to talk about is that Tasmat va etasmat atmana akasha sambhudaha. How the akasha, from where this thing. So before that, in today's class, we will be discussing about the cause and effect. How we are conditioned by our experiences to think about the cause and effect of our existence and our reality or our own experiences. That we need to analyze it threadbare before knowing how the creation takes place. Because without knowing this, going to straight away to Akasha, etc., will not give us the right perception from which the Upanishad is wanting us to look at it. Therefore, in today's class, it will be mostly about the theory of causation, or the way in which the spiritual philosophy. Now, I'm not talking about the material science. Please differentiate between material science and metaphysics or the spiritual science. The Adhyatma Rupa, or the way in which one should analyze it in himself, is different from when which one analyzes the world of matter from the world outside. Those two cannot be compared or cannot be even made a comparison. They are parallel tracks. They will go parallelly. they will whether will meet, nobody can say. But we are not interested what the science is doing or the material science is trying to find out. They are also trying to find out the causation for the things like that. But their method is for investigation of the world outside. But for spiritual people like us, or we who are into spirituality, our inquiry is from the philosophy point of view, and our inquiry is into our own nature or our own experiences or our own knowledge. This knowledge aspect is not touched by the material science. For them, consciousness is still an emerging principle in the brain, but brain is a matter and a part of muscle, etc. So matter cannot produce consciousness, or how matter and consciousness, the research is going on. Let them do the research and find out what is consciousness in their language. But for spirituality, we will not couple these two together. These two will be treated separately. So don't bring material world examples to analyze spiritual experiences. With that as a caveat, I am entering in today's commentary part of Shankaracharya. Tatra cha satyam jnanam anandam brahma ityuktam mantrado. Tatra cha means in that earlier portion. Satyam jnanam anandam brahma iti uktam mantrado. In the beginning mantra, the Brahma is being defined as Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam. Tat katham Satyam Anandam cha iti aha. How can it be Satyam and Anandam? Has to be understood. Katham aha. How is it to be understood? Trividam hi anantyam. The anantyam is anantasya bhava. Anantyam. The nature of being infinite. That is anantyam. Trividam. It is in the three forms. Indeed, he. Deshataha, Kalataha, Vastutaha, cha iti. They are in the three formats. Deshataha by space, Kalataha by time, and Vastutaha by object. So, the Anantyam or the infinitude is to be now seen from the three conditions of space, time and material or matter. Tadyata Deshataha Anantaha Akasha. Like Akasha or the space, Anantaha, it is infinity, is Deshataha by location and space. So Akasha is infinite if you look at the space from the point of view. Nahi Deshatasya Parichedo Asti. In no way we can say that the space, the Akasha, is limited by space in any way. Even though we may say that the space inside the room, the space inside the heart, the space in the outer space, the inner space, etc., all those definitions are there. They are not bifurcation by itself. The bifurcation is based on the appearances of instruments in which this attribute of the space availability which is being defined. Therefore, there is no way we can say that the space is limited by the Akasha is limited by the space. Natu kalataha cha anantyam vastutaha cha akashasya. So if you look at Akasha, the sky or the ether, kalataha by time and vastutaha by object. In either case, there is na anantyam. There is no infinite in the space, in the sky. Kalataha, because in the case of time, Akasha is limited by time, because Tasmat Akasha Sambodha. Now the word is being used that from that the sky was created or the ether was created. So what is created? There is a beginning. So Desha Kalataha, there is a Paricheda in the sky. Vastutaha. Now Vastutaha is a very subtle thing which you have to understand that even though it's an object, what is a Vastu Paricheda? Vastu Paricheda or Vastu limitation of an object is that when it is one object, it cannot become another object. For example, when I am saying a book and a table, the book can never become a table, nor can the table become a book. So, Vastu as a book is limited and it can never become anything other than book. Same is the case with what you call the table or pen or any other matter for that matter. In the same case, the sky also can only be sky. It can never become anything else. Therefore, Anantyam, Anantata means Ananyatvam should happen. That Ananyatvam between a table and a book is not happening because table is Anyaha, Pustakam Anyaha. That is, table is separate, book is separate. So Ananyatvam, inseparability or inseparability between the table and the book is not available. So too the sky. The sky cannot be become anything else like a water or a table or a book. Therefore, Anantyam or Ananyatvam is not possible in the sky. Kalata, we knew that because it has a beginning, it is not there. Now, Kasmat, Karyatvad, because all the other objects which we are now going to say in the list, Akashat, from that how the creation is happening, they are all effects which is being produced from the cause which is called Akasha. Here Brahma or Atma is the cause, Avyakrita in the form of Akasha. Not this physical Akasha. Here we are talking about the spiritual Akasha. So please don't compare this sky. So when I am going to talk about the further statements, always keep it in mind we are talking about the spiritual Akasha or the Akasha Tanmatra in the nature in which it is explained in the spiritual realm. It is a vision for those who are taking the vision inward. They can realize that sky, not with those who look through the external sky. That is why we had to use that mantra Paranchikani Vidatrana Swayampu in the Katha Upanishad. Only one who turned the vision inward can realize the Avrita Chakshu. Only through that only he can see the Atma. So Atma, from Atma when the Akasha is coming, Akashad Vayu, then the Tanmatra of Vayu is a product of Vayu, Akasha. Therefore, Akasha itself is a Karyam, and from Akasha other Karyas are coming. So there is no Ananyatvam in the Akasha, plus Kalataha Vastutaha Anantyam Nasti. There is no infinitude possible in the Akasha because Karyatvad, it is an effect. So from Atma when Akasha comes, the Karya, Akasha is separate from Atma. Therefore, there is a limitation for it. Na evam Brahmanaha Akashavat Kalataha api Andavatvam. Na evam Brahmanaha Akashavat. But for the Brahman or Atman, like Akasha, Kalataha, by time, Andavatvam Nasti, Na eva. Why? because Brahma is not a effect. Brahman is the from which every effect is coming out. Therefore, that is the primordial cause, where there is no causation before that. Therefore, the Akasha becomes a Karya from Brahman. Akaryatvad. That is the reason why. It is not a Karya. What? Brahman or Atma is not a Karya to have become Atma or become Brahma from something else. They are the fundamental reality from which Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam form, in which everything else is being produced. Karyam hi vastu kalena parichedyate. Karyam hi, only an effect, vastu kalena parichedyate, by way of an object as well as time, becomes limited. Parichedyate means limited. So when the effect is being produced, it is separate from cause. Therefore, vastutaha paricheda bhavati. By as an object, they are two independent objects. Kalataha paricheda bhavati, because the creation of the effect is from the cause. So there is a time involvement when the timing of the effect starts. Therefore, there is also a limitation in the effect for the kala in the form of a kala. Akaryam cha Brahma. Brahma or Atman, Atma or Brahman is akaryam, is without a causation for them, and they are neither the effect of anything else. Tasmat kalataha asya anandyam. Tasmat kalataha tasya anandyam. Therefore, even from time, Brahma is compared to Kala, it is Ananta, because it is not a creation. So therefore, there is no time when the Brahma started. So, tada vastutaha, even for as an object, it is not separate from the other objects. Ananyatvad, satyam, jnanam, anantam. In that we discussed in detail, ananyatvam. So Brahma is ananya to everything. Therefore, vastutaha, there is no parichedaha or limitation. Kalataha, by time also there is no limitation. Then the Purvapakshi is asking, Katam punaha vastutaha anantyam. How can there be multitude of objects are there? Then if when there is multitude of anandam in the Brahma, if there is no separation from that, how can you call it as anandam? While Brahma is there, the space inside the house, the sky is there. The space in the sky in the room is separate from the space outside, isn't it? No. So the space in the room can never be the space outside. That is the logic what the people are using it. But in reality, assuming it is instead of a room and the space, assuming it is a box, the space inside the box, when the box moves, does the space inside the box move, or the space is inside the space the box is moving? We have to think very subtly to know that space is not moving. The four or the eight parts of the box, which makes it a box, that is moving inside the space and not the space inside the box. Therefore, Puna Katam Anantyam, how can Brahma be infinite in nature or infinite in nature? This is very important. Sarva Ananyatvad. It is inseparable from everything. This Brahma or Atman is inseparable from everything. Sarva Ananyatvad. We need to meditate on this word Sarva Ananyatvam, how it is possible by studying Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam as the Lakshya Vakyas and applying to both Atma and Brahma and then arrive at what is that from which Atma or Brahman, why, how come the objects which are appearing in Brahman not separate. Bhinnam hi vastuantarasya anto bhavati. Vastuantarasya. One object from another object is limited, anta bhavati, because they are separate. Bhinnam hi, because they are bhinnam. As I told you, the table and the book. Vastuantarat buddhir hi prasaktat vastuantarat nivartate. This buddhi indeed is the reason for us to consider that there is separation between one vastu and another vastu. That limitation which is being experienced by the limitation of the mind is the reason why we are not able to see the oneness between the table and the book. What is the oneness which makes the table and the book one and the same, cannot be understood with the intellect which we have this Nama Rupa predominantly controlling that thing. Now, for example, this Ananyatvam is also known as Mithya because it is not real but appearing as real. Now, if I say a gold ring and a gold necklace are Mithya, the one who has purchased that with money, he will jump at me saying, how can you say that I have paid money for this? And therefore, how can you call it as Mithya? It is very real. I have paid money and I can feel them in my hand. I can wear them. But when I say tell them, they are Mithya from the point of view of gold. From the point of gold, the ring or the necklace are non-separable. Without gold, neither can ring exist nor the necklace exist without gold. Therefore, one which cannot exist without which its cause. That is why we are saying they are ananyam, or the name and form is mithya. Lot of people have misunderstood the Advaitin's statement of mithya, thinking that we are saying the world is not real. The world is not real if you are taking the Nama Rupa. Is the Nama Rupa the reality? No. Just as we knew that the wave, the droplet of water, the cloud, are ananya from water, non-separable from water. Or if I say the ornaments are non-separable from gold, or if I say the pot, the lamp, etc., doll, etc., are non-separable from mud. It doesn't mean to say that the cloud, the drop, or the water, the ornaments, or the doll, etc., are not there. Please understand that. The word mithya means there is a ananyatvam in them from their cause. Same way, the whole world of universe which we are experiencing has to be seen inseparable from its cause. That is the time when ananyatvam becomes sakshat. The realization, what we are talking about, sakshatkara or aparokshanubhuti and all those things, what we are talking about, is from the experience of unity or inseparability of the names and forms from their cause. That is what is called ananyatvam. So when it says that vastuantarat buddhihi prasaktat vastuantarat nivartate, only when the nivarti or that escape from the Vastu Andaram, there is a separation between one object to another object, can happen only when the buddhi is devoid of the clinging to the name and form. Yataha yasya buddhir nivartate saha tasya antaha. Where the idea of one name and form end, the other name and form will appear. When the gold appears as ring, we call it as a ring. When it stops becoming ring, or it has become an ornament or a necklace, we call it as a necklace. So one object is separated from that thing only through the buddhi. So buddhi nivarti, buddhehe nivarti. That is why that idea or the notion in the intellect or in the mind of a object will be replaced. That will be the end to it when we are thinking about something else. Now Acharya is giving an example. Tad yada, that is like gotva buddhi aswatvat nivartate. We are seeing an animal and we are thinking it is cow. But somebody says, no, it is not a cow, it is a horse. So the moment what we say, we are being told that it is not cow, but it is a horse, the idea which we had in our mind as a cow is now replaced by the idea that it is a horse. Iti ashwantam gotvam ityanda andavat eva bhavati. So the idea of horse replaces the idea of cow. Sacha antaha bhinneshu vastushu drishtaha. This limitation is seen in all the objects which has got name and form. Na evam brahmana vedaha. If you are looking from the point of Brahman or Atman, there is no way you can make that sort of a separation. Because there is vastu anantyam, thing anantyam, and kala anantyam. In the case of Brahma, we knew what it is, that neither the time nor the space can limit Atma or Brahman. Therefore, Brahmanaha Vedaha, there is no two Brahma, must be another Brahma to limit one Brahma. Such a thing is not Sa Ekaha, Sa Ekam Vit is the Upanishad mantra. So it is only one, that Atma Brahma, and that is why there is no Vedaha. Ataha vastutaha api anantyam. Therefore, in the Brahman or Atman, vastutaha anantyam asti. Anantada. Vastutaha means as an object, it is infinite. Because there is only one. There is no second one. Na dudiyam asti. There is no second one to limit this idea that this Brahman and that Brahman, like that. Katham, then Purvapakshi is still not very convinced. He is asking again a question. Katham punaha sarva anantyatyam brahmanaha iti. Then how can you say that sarva anantyatyam brahmanaha? Brahma is ananta. How do you say that from sarva point of view? Uchyate. Acharya is saying, Paraya, I'll tell you. Sarva vastu karanatvad. That is another key word you have to meditate upon. Just as sarva ananyatvad, here he is saying sarva vastu karanatvad. All vastus or all objects, there is only one cause for it. All objects or everything in the universe is a karya or an effect. And the only cause for them is Atma or Brahman. So, Sarva Vastu Karanatvat Brahmanaha Anantyam. Sarvesham hi Vastunam Kala Akashadinam Karanam Brahma. Sarva Vastunam. All the objects which we call it as the universe or experiences or everything under the creation, all of them are in the Kala and Desha, space and time. And that limitation of all the objects due to space and time has the cause in the Brahma. So Brahman is a primordial cause from where Akasha, Kala and all of them are appearing. And the objects in the space and time is therefore an effect from Brahman. Karyapekshaya vastutaha andavatvam iti chet. Again one more question. Karyapekshaya, from the point of view, the effect, vastutaha andavatvam iti chet. Now, a typical question which is highly meditatable upon. When we said that the ornament is the effect and gold is the cause. So, can there be separation between the ornament and the gold and karyatvam? The ornament is a karyam or effect and gold is the cause. So, the ornament has as an object can limit the gold. Is it not? Is the question by the opponent. Acharya says, no, it cannot. Anurdattvavat karyasya vastunaha. This is anurdattvavat is the word mithyatva. Karyasya vastunaha. All the objects, all the effects are effect of from a cause. And the effect is anurda, is not satya because they keep changing. The ornament the ring can change into gold, back into gold form or gold back into ornament and a necklace, or the mud has become a pot or a doll. It can become powder again to become again another lump. Same way, the cloud becomes water, river and sea, and the sea again becomes a cloud. So there is a what you call anurdatvam, means they are vyabhijarati. They are all changing in its nature and form. But if you look at their cause, the water has not undergone any change, nor has the gold undergone any change. Therefore, Acharya says, Nahi karana vyatirekena karyam nama vastutaha asti. Nahi, there is indeed not karyam nama, the effect or what we call it as karyam or the effect. Vastutaha asti is, in reality it is not there. The effect is not really there. Karana vyatirekena. Without cause, the effect has no existence. Therefore, all effects are in the cause and the cause is in the effect. Therefore, there is ananyatvam between the cause and the effect. Therefore, ananyatvam between Atma or Brahman with the universe which we are experiencing. Yataha karana buddhir nivartate. As when the karana buddhi nivartate, the karya nivartate. If the cause is removed from the effect, the effect also is not there. If the gold is taken out from the necklace has no existence. If the mud is removed from the pot has no existence. Same way, if Atman or Brahman can be removed, if at all it can be removed, then the world will not exist. The whole universe will not exist. Ataha Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam Mrittigatteva Satyam. In the Chandogya Upanishad we studied this. Vacharambanam or Vakalambanam. Only by dependency on the names, Vikaraha and the forms, due to Namadeyam, by the attribution of to the effects, we feel that there are pots, clay lamp or lamps, dolls, etc. Mrittigatteva Satyam. The reality is that mud has not become non-mud even when it became pot, or even when it became a doll, or even it has become a lamp. Evam Sadeva Satyamiti. There also we studied the same Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad. Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit. Sateva. Sat. Tat Satyam iti. Tat Satyam iti Shetuketo. Tat Satyam Sattumadisi Shvetaketo. So when that was said, that Sat is Satyam. What is Sat? That Brahman or Atman which is not undergoing any change. Just because the name and form is being called and experienced, that doesn't mean the Brahman or Atman has become the object or the world of objects or the universe. Brahman is remaining unchanging because Tat Satyam, that is the Satyam, that which doesn't undergo any change is what is Satyam. Therefore, Satyam Jnanam Anandam has got very much importance from the definition of the world, that the world in the form of name and form has dependency on Brahman as long as they have name and form. If the name and form to be surpassed and we look at the reality of the name and form of each and every atom of the world, we will know that they are all nothing but Sat, Chit and Ananda, or Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam. They exist. Their existence is in knowledge or consciousness, and infinite is their fundamental nature. Only when we apply the name and the form, they have Vastu Buddhi. Vastu Buddhi means in the intellect or in the mind, we have a separation as an object. That object is dependent on the Vakalambanam Vikaraha Namadeyam. It is because using of words and the forms, we have the dependency on the objects. But Mrittigatteva Satyam, same way, Brahma Eva Satyam. The whole universe is nothing but Brahman. That is why it says Satyam iti Sutryandarat. Tasmat Akashadi Karanatvat Deshatha Tavat Anandam Brahma. Tasmat, therefore, Akashadi Karanatvat, being the cause for Akasha, the Akasha, means the Tanmatra Akasha, from where Deshataha, by space, Akasha, from the space, Tavat Anandam Brahma. Compared to that, Akasha is a effect from Brahma, and effect has Ananyam from the cause, Brahma itself. Therefore, Akasha is also Ananda. Because cause and effect, Anantyam. But the moment we use the word Akasha, then it became Vakalambanam, Vacharambanam. And a Vikara. Vikara from what? Vikara means formation. Formation from what? From Brahma. Therefore, the dependency of the Akasha, and therefore, Anurudatva Karyasya Vastunaha. The Vastu, Akasha, is Anurudha Karya, is not a real effect. It is an apparent effect. That is why we call the Jagat Mithya. The Jagat Mithya becomes Sartaka or reality only if you understand the meaning of this explanation. Akasha hi anantaha iti prasiddham deshataha. As a space, we all know Akasha is ananta. Tasya idam karanam. Tasya idam karanam means tasya brahma eva karanam. Tasmat siddham deshataha atmanaha anantyam. Tasmat siddham. Therefore, it is proven or it is beyond doubt that deshataha compared to the space atmanaha anantyam. The cause atma is infinitude in nature and it is the cause and the effect of akasha is apparent anratakaryam. Therefore, we feel that depending on the name and form of akasha, it is dependent on the karya. It is a karya which is dependent upon the karana. Nahi asarvagatatvat sarvagatam utpadyamanam loke kinchit drishyate. Asarvagatatvam asarvagatat sarvagatam utpadyamanam. That is, sarvagatam is infinite or all pervading. Asarvagatam, asarvagatat, from which is not one, which is not all pervading cannot come. The akasha is all pervading. So, the all pervasiveness of space has to come from something which is all pervasive. Because a non all pervasive thing cannot give rise to an all pervasive thing. Because karya karana ananyatvad. Therefore, there is an aspect of infinitude in the akasha, even though it has got dependency on the name and form, that anandatvam or the infinitude of akasha has to be from that of the karana of ananta or atma. Therefore, atma is ananta and akasha is anartha ananta. Anartha ananta means ananta asti, and it is ananta only, but because of its beginning, akasha atmana akasha sambhudaha, there is a creation. So therefore, time and vastu, there is a limitation in akasha that is not there in the atma. And now we have to understand that this akasha, which is now a effect, is limited by time and object, but not by space. And the infinitude of the space of akasha is of that of atma, and that is now being seen in the sky. Okay? This type of a thing we cannot see. The quality of gold is seen in the necklace or the ring, but the potency of the ring is limited by the time and the space on the name and form of the ring, which you cannot attribute to gold, because gold can also become necklace. But when it is ring, it cannot become necklace, and when it is necklace, it cannot become ring. Therefore, vastudaha paricheda asti. And kaladaha paricheda, by time it is a thing, because it is a product out of gold. Therefore, this type of asarvagatatvat sarvagatam utpadyamanam loke na drishyate. In the world, we don't see that. Ataha niratishaya atmanaha anantyam deshataha. Therefore, niratishaya atmanam, this atma which is what you call, which doesn't have a comparison or ups and down or the expansion or contraction or any of sort of changes in the Atma. Therefore, Anantyam Deshataha. Therefore, from the point of view of space, the Atma is more Ananta rather than the Akasha. Tada Akaryatvat Kalataha. Atma is Akarya. It's not a product of creation. Therefore, Akarya. It is not an effect. Therefore, Kalataha Paricheda Nasti. Therefore, Kalataha, due to time, there is no way in it is possible for us to say that it is infinite. Tad Bhinna Vastu Andara Bhavava Cha Vastutaha. As an object also, there is no second Atma. That is why Atma is Sarvagatam, Sukshma, because Sukshmatvat, it is only if it is a subtle, a gross thing can come out of that. That aspect will be discussed later. So, Vastu Andara Bhavacha, there is no separate Atma, even though we may call this Atma, my Atma, your Atma, and that thing. It is due to the problem like how space in one pot is different from the space in another pot. Atma is Sarvagataha, is all-pervasive. What we feel as my Atma or my limitation is due to the conditioning of the mind, which we think that the my Atma is conditioned by this body. That type of a Vastuandaram is not applicable or cannot be attributed to Atma, because that Atma is not the individualized ego, but the Brahman itself, Sarvagatatvad. Ataha eva Niratishaya Satyatvad. That the word Niratishaya will keep on coming. Niratishaya means, Atishaya means ups and downs or expansion, contraction, these type of contradictions, opposites. Niratishaya means where there is no opposites. Satyatvam, in the Satyam, there is enna vivarajati. This Atma doesn't go through any change. So if there is an appearance as Akasha, Tanmatra, it is only as an appearance. Anradatvat karyatya vatsunaha. It is therefore we call that Akasha is Mithya, and when Akasha is Mithya, from the whole universe will become Mithya. Therefore the Jagat Mithyatvam is to be understood in this time. Here Acharya is not talking about Jagat Mithyatvam, but he is talking about Karyasya Mithyatvam. And Atma is only Satyam, Niratishaya Satyam. And from Niratishaya Satyam, whatever is appearing as Akasha is Nacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam Vrittigateva Satyam. That applies to even for Akasha. Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam Atma eva Satyam. Therefore, Niratishaya Satyatvam Atmanaha. Atma becomes Niratishaya Satyam. So I'll stop here and we'll continue the class on next Wednesday. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavada.
Thank you so much, Vindaji, and thank you everyone for being with us. In just a moment, we'll open up the hand raising and the chat, and we invite people to bring up questions and discussion with Vindaji on the class today or on the earlier classes on the Upanishad. And those many classes are available on replay here and on the YouTube channel Advaita Retold for people to listen to. So Yes, please make use of the time. And then also we have a general Advaita Q&A if you have more general questions on Sunday at the same time. And also a special thank you to Prakash today, since he'll be taking over the moderation here pretty soon. Again, thank you so much, Binduji.
Thank you, Atmisha. Thank Prakash.
Again, thank you, Binduji. That was another very deep explanation. I have no questions, so I'll move to pass the mic on to SK. SK, please.
Yeah, beautiful session, Binduji. Actually, it
Thank you.
was very touching. So, Binduji, now this entire cause and effect discussion, that because you can't have the effect without the cause, hence the effect itself is not there. It has always been the cause. Even the pot example, like say this individuality is just like an imagined pot that is made of clay or like a wave, in the ocean. So is it actually ever possible for the pot to really experience infinitude? Binduji, that is a difficult thing, right? Like that individuality, it remains, at least it looks like it remains. And, like for example, even an enlightened person might not actually understand exactly what the other person is thinking. Right, like, or all the time be able to say what the other what is going on in other person's mind. So in that sense, the pot's existence does exist. There is no evidence that it is actually melting away, or if it is even possible to have the experience of infinitude as a logical possibility. Right, like
You are right.
This is my question.
You are right.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. The pot can only realize that it is mud. It cannot realize that infinitude which earth can comprehend itself. The earth has got infinitude compared to the pot from which the pot has been created. But the pot will know that I am nothing but earth. But as long as I am remaining as pot, what happens is that the thought that I am a pot stops him from knowing that I am the earth or the mud. Even though technically it may know, as long as it identifies with the pot, it will have limitation. But the moment it is not identifying with the pot, even though it is appearing as a pot, the pot knows that my reality is nothing but earth. That infinitude of earth is my nature, is a knowledge for the pot, but transactionally it will have to remain as a pot. Is it clear?
Yeah. Yeah. But again, transactionally is like, for all practical purposes, it remains as a pot, right? Like,
But here's the knowledge.
so there is no.
I am mud, not pot.
Yeah, okay. But that is like, it cannot be like actually be proven to itself, right? Like,
No, it is the moment you realize, the moment the pot realizes its reality that I am mud, I am not a pot, it is because of my shape. I am being called a pot, but I am nothing but mud. Why should it worry about what it is called? Pot will not be worried about what it is being called or what it is being used for. It knows I am mud. It will be happy with knowing that I am mud.
how does it validate to itself that it is actually mud, other than like just as a knowledge?
That is why the
Binduji?
knowledge is the basis with which Yat jnatva sarvamidam vijnadam bhavati. When the Upanishad says that knowing which makes you everything what is known to be known, what does the statement mean? You are not going to become everything. Right? At the same time, this knowledge that I am that from which everything has come up, including this me, that knowledge will limit you from the physicality of identification with the body, but at the same time, he will feel that the limitation of the body is not a reality. It is only for the transactional purpose, the name and the form. I am not the body. The body is an object. It is being seen as an object. It has got birth, death, decay, growth, etc. But I have not gone through any changes from the time I remember myself, that the knowledge of my own nature, even though the mind, it is in the mind, that experience has never been diminished or anything. The instrument can become bad or not developed. In the child, it is not developed, but when it is developed, it can get, destroyed or decayed by disease or death. But intervening period, when the mind is functioning, that time the knowledge can arise. That is the time when the knowledge will make you realize that it is due to the underdeveloped mind. I never knew what was happening during birth or from my time of my conceiving onwards, all those things. Or even after death, what is going to happen, I will not know, because this instrument with which I am knowing now is that of this body. But my knowledge, that knowledge not as a vritti or the thought, but as a jnanam in the knowledge, in the vritti. That is why in the last class I told very clearly to separate out knowledge from the subject, object and knowing. That knowledge is your real nature. When you identify with the object, you are called an object. When that is identified with the subject, it is called a subject. And when it is an interaction between the subject and object taking place, it is called knowing. That is it. This knowingness or this nature of knowledge, where the subject, object and knowing does not happen, is the true nature of our individuality. And we are experiencing that even this very moment. But we are thinking we are the knower and everything else is known is an object. The only place where we do not have the subject and the objects is in our deep sleep. That time also we have something called I know nothing. That knowing of nothingness of deep sleep is the proof that the knowledge existed, but the objects and the subject as subject-object did not exist separately. That is where we have to take our attention to know who we are. And then we will know that effects what we are seeing as the names and forms are due to their name and form. We are calling them by name, and their reality is from the same source where my existence comes, your existence comes, every existence of every object comes. At Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam, Brahma is the only reality. Everything else is an appearance because of the name and form.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thanks. Vinod. But the only one thing is, like, say, suppose if it has this nature of that knowledge, that is not like a completely attributeless situation, right? Vinodji, like, so if it has knowledge as an attribute, then
But that knowledge as an attribute should be also Satyam and Anantam. It should not be changing in nature, and it has got Ananyatvam in it, because that knowledge cannot be limited by either space, time or object. If you don't have space, time and object in that knowledge, then that knowledge is called Ananyam, and that is what is called Anantada, and that is exactly what is Satyam and Jnanam. That is the time when that Jnanam becomes Satyam and Jnanam.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, SK. Anybody else? Otherwise, we will close the room. If nobody has questions or anything to tell, how you felt the
I wanted to
class.
ask,
Yeah, go ahead.
Binduji, I wanted to hear that earlier you talked about the sage Yagnavalkya, Valkya and Maitreyi. I want to hear that again once more, if you can share that.
Which one? Yajnavalkya Maitreyi is that whether it is Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati, that is the one?
Yes.
Okay. That is, okay, if not, that has not been covered, the Taittareeya Upanishad, but since I have referred to it, it is that we have knowledge about everything which we like and dislike also. When we say like, dislike also, you have to take it into. But we never think about why are we liking a thing and why are we not liking a thing. So there the Yajnavalkya tells to his wife, the sun is beloved not because the sun has special qualities in it or anything they think, any special nature because of which the love for the sun comes. It is because you love yourself and you are now seeing the love in your son because it is through that love you are loving yourself. It is this appreciation or the self-satisfaction in you, in your loving your son. But if the son himself becomes a problematic one, a headache for you, even the individual and the object has remained the same, it is no more giving you happiness. So you start hating the same object. That is also again because you love yourself. Because you want to be happy. The happiness is your nature. You want to be happy. When you are loving your son, you are happy. When you are not loving your son, because he is giving unhappiness to you. Same is the case with everything in the world. Whether it is the wife, the wealth, or the body, or a name and fame, everything can become either the source of happiness or source of sorrow, depending upon the change in it is happening place. But what is unchanging is that our own love for ourselves or our own love for our happiness, which is embedded in the self. So we love ourselves as number one. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Therefore, everything becomes priyam because we love ourselves. That is how Yajnavalkya tells. When he is leaving for his sannyasa, his wife Maitreyi asks, you must be loving something more than yourself or something for which you are able to abandon Katyayani and myself. 2 wives are there, children were there, lot of wealth and ashram, everything was there. So he was leaving them all for something which Maitreyi want to know. What is that is more superior than all this which you have accumulated during your life? That you are now willing to throw them away. That must be something more dearer to you. What is that? Please tell me. That is how the question starts in the beginning. Are Maitreyi, Atma va are drishtavya, shrodavyo, mantavyo, nididya, sidavya. This Atma, which I told you, that for which we love everything, that has to be drishtavya, means that has to be studied. That has to be understood. Shrodavya, how? By hearing. Mantavya by meditation, and Nididhyasidavya, come to the firm conviction. Is it not what I am telling is your truth, that your love is for yourself first? Are you not loving your own Atma? And that is why Atma Yajnavalkya takes to sannyasa.
Thank you, Binduji. One more last call for any questions, otherwise we can close the room.
Srini, Ganesh, Vinod, Mahadir, Brek, Prasad, anybody? Yes, Srini.
Namaste, Binduji.
Namaste.
One small question I had.
Yeah.
Earlier when you said that something about the world is not real, only names and forms are real, right? But yeah, that's I think the world itself means names and forms, right? If there are no names and forms, there is no world at all, isn't it? But I do
No.
understand. No, is it? Yeah.
That is why Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Sarvam is there. How can it be indeed Brahma? Because Ananyatvad. The Karya is Ananyat to Karana. The cause and effect are inseparable, or you can never have, the cause and effect as two separate things. But the separation is only Mithyatva. Is due to the name and form, which is depending upon the vak, the names and the vikara, and namadeya, which has been used for the transaction. But the truth is, the cause is the only reality. That is why it is mithya from the point of view, but at the same time, it is also satyam. So Shankaracharya says in the Bhashya for the Sarvam Khalidam Brahma that Ananyatvad Sadatmana Sarvam Atma. That Sarvam, Ananyam, because it is Ananyam, so not separate from Atma, therefore some Satyeva. They are all Sat only. They are real. As Atma they are real, but not as Namarupa. We see
Correct.
only Namarupa.
That's correct. So, but there is nothing like it's a one-way journey kind of thing, right? Because from the effect, you travel to the cause, and there is no coming back from cause into effect and saying that that effect we can't comment, right? It is later on. Maybe we are saying, okay, since once that from the effect we know the cause is Brahman. Maybe later on we are saying then cause is not different from the effect or something, because one side we are also negating the effect totally, that there is no effect at all or something like that, right? So
No, it is not that way. When we know our true nature, there the I or the individual vanishes. The ego vanishes. But the mind and in the other things which are working for the body to perceive the world will continue to work as long as the body is there. But the vision of the jnani is ananyatvam. Yatrana anyat pasyati anyat shrunoti anyat vijanati. That knowledge is coming from where? Yatnyatva sarvamidam vityadam bhavati. Sarvam idam. Idam means the world. And in the form of idam, that world idam will become aham. That is, I am that. Tadutvamasi becomes aham brahmasmi. Or what Nisargadatta Maharaj said that, no, I am that. Or all masters who have said that is not from the transactional point of view, but from the knowledge point of view. That is their Yat Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. It is the most immediate experience that I am Brahma. And in that, when you experience that, the world will exist, appearing as names and forms for transactional purpose, but you will not be transacting it as separate. Shankaracharya in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya says, Pashwadibhischa Visheshad. The body will react like any animal will react. If it is beaten, it will run away. If it is given food, it will eat. That will happen. But the buddhi or the mind of the yogi or the jnani is not in the body. That is in the reality. He knows his reality is that. And his transactions are, the body is prarabdhena samarpitam. It is appearing for others that his body is there. He's transacting. For him, there is no body, no world, nothing. He is become one with the reality.
Yeah.
And
so
that,
I was asking in point of him only. So
yes.
From his point, then the word world only is not making much sense, right?
From his sense, yes. No sense.
Yeah, that's what I was. Thanks, Vidyaji. Yeah, I think one more thing. I think that's why this because when this example is given that the knowledge of the cow is replaced by the knowledge of the horse, right?
Yes.
But and most of the time it is when we talk about this prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapuhu kind of thing, it feels like it's a repetitive exercise. It is like
that prarabdhaya samarpitam is from the third party point of view.
Correct. So that is where the confusion, because many times it comes out like it's a repetitive exercise, that whereas one way the Upanishads are saying it's a single time exercise, it's a one time job kind of thing, or
yes.
Is it a repeat? So that problem comes, and I think it's because of this third party and first party kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
That is why when the cow and the horse replacement thing, the body and the intellect or the individuality will get replaced with Atma. Then you don't see the body and individuality anymore.
Yes. And it's not like something, because it's a common theme, right? Many places I hear that it's a repetitive kind of thing, that this cow knowledge replaced with horse knowledge kind of thing. But it is definitely, I feel it's not a repetitive theme.
It's not a repetitive.
Yeah, that's what.
The moment you know it is not a cow, how can you see again? This is the example, exactly what Rajju Sarpa.
Yes.
That rope and the snake is replaced by the rope, you can never see the snake again. Right?
Yes. That's what I thought, Bindaji. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Namaste, Gopal.
Namaste, Bindaji. So I have a question. After listening to Upanishads and a lot of Vedas and all Shastras, everything, why is it not many? Why is it many percentage of the the students or the readers or the audience or the listeners, where do we miss it, to get that thing, right? So what are some of the key things which stops us for getting it, even in spite of having
Manana and Nididhyasana.
Mm-hmm.
We are not doing this as Samshikarana, which I have been telling in the beginning of the class itself. This teaching is to become introvert and apply it to yourself. You are the laboratory. Because this is not a physical laboratory where you can do things outside. This is Adhyatma Chit. So when it is being done, all that thing, you have to really transcend your mind to who you are. That can only happen if the mind becomes absolutely convinced about what being told is logically right, can never be replaced by any other logic, and when applied to oneself from the experiential point of view, that becomes my own experience. That my own experience can happen only if you do it as Swamshigaranam, means applying it to yourself. This is where most of the readers, they all become Shastravit, not Brahmavit. They all know the Shastras so much that they can quote even from a middle of a dream or a deep sleep. You can call them, they will be able to quote or chant a sutra or mantra. But when it comes to application or living in that, they have not applied it on themselves to become from a Shastravit to a Brahmavit or Atmavit. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Shastravit Pandit Bhavati. You become a Panda or a Pandit, but you will not become a Brahmavit. That is where the difference lies.
So, so what is the fastest way, Binduji, to the Ashtavakra says, right? So there is a faster way also. So when you say this go into the self, right? So what is the fastest way in that?
Iha chet aveti atha satyamasti, na cheti ha veti mahati vinishti. If you do not get it here and now, you are wasting your time. In the sense that when the Shravana is being done, it has to be heard without correlating anything from the past memory or anything because this subject you have not heard anywhere before. So you need 100% attention to listening, and that what you heard should be available with you as a knowledge in the mind so that you can do mananam on that. That is the fastest way to do it. Listen 100%. Apply it to yourself. The moment you are convinced about it, it doesn't take any time. You are that. Praptasya prapti hai. You are that this very moment. You don't have to do Shirshasana for it, or Pranayama for it, or any Kundalini Yoga for it, or anything of that sort. That is the Satyam. That is the truth. And when it is being told, what is stopping you from accepting the truth that I am Atman? It is our vasanas. The mind is conditioned by the old habits of partially hearing or correlating with something we have heard somewhere, or not able to grasp the intended meaning of the Shruti, and we go by the apparent meaning. And then we get into the loop of trying to justify what we heard with our past memory knowledge, rather than come with a plain, clean slate and listen to it, absorb it. For a student like Shvetaketu, it had to be repeated 9 times. But for a student like Nachiketas, he had to listen it only once, and he realized it. So it depends upon the mental makeup, what is there in you, and it is not a difficult thing. All you need is attention and conviction.
So that also means, Binduji, that if the mind is, when you say attention, so if we have to give 100% attention, and if there is no 100% attention, that means we are giving attention to something else which we think is more important than this. So that means our priority is more into something else, not into this. Can we say in that way?
Yes, that is why Shastra says, Avarti Asakrat Upatesha. Repetition of this Upatesha, this teaching, is one method. Or other one is Pariprashnena Sevaya. by discussing with like-minded people and getting the clarity done. Or you can also repeatedly listen to the lectures so that what missed each time when you listen, a new idea or new ideation will pop up in your mind, because what you have not heard or what you heard it in a different way will become much more clearer when you hear it again. So I have gone through the Shankara Bhashya of all the three, Brahma Sutra, Gita and all the 10 Upanishads 3 times in my lifetime. I am doing the 4th time with you all people. But I'll continue to do it till my death. That is my commitment. And that is the only way I am ensured that is the only method in which Nanya Panda Vidyate Ayanaya. There is no other way other than that.
Thank you very much, Mintaji. It's a great understanding.
Yeah, thank you, Gopal.
Prasad.
Ganesh ji, if you have questions, I think.
Yeah. Ganesh, if you want to come, please come up. Yeah.
Namaste, Bindoji. I don't want to question, it's already time. The fact is, I have no specific questions today. Only thing is, space, in today's lecture, Brahma and Atma, they are the cause for the creation of Akasha and Akashat Vayuhu and all those things. So that has been begun today, just, isn't it?
Yeah, not yet completely begun. Only started that the cause and effect aspect should be clearer before we go into the cause and effect, the creation in totality. Why is it, tat trishtua tateva pravishat, all these things are going to come up later. At that time, you will not be able to relate why it is saying that having created it entered itself. That statement of a later mantra in this Upanishad, and where yado vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha, all those things, the statements of the future mantras which are going to come up in this one will not be clear unless you know this particular lecture of today, where how you have to relate with the cause and effect. What is the cause, what is the relation with the cause and the effect, and what is the effect in relation with the cause, and how we have to make it very clear that the effect when we are talking about is ananya from the cause. That,
yes.
Yeah. Then only we will know how tattva tateva anupravishyat will become clearer to you.
Yeah. So today the Anantam part has been stressed, and Brahma is the cause.
Ananyatva.
And that much Ananyatva. So that has been started today.
Yes.
And it is only with the initiation of the Avrita Chakshu Drishti, these things have to be analyzed.
Yeah. See, all these teachings have to be internalized. It has to be applicable to from the individual's point of view, how I am the truth, consciousness and infinite in my nature, which is not being experienced by me in the physicality of my identification with the body. But am I not, when I know that I am not the body, and when I am seeing myself as pure consciousness, without the body, which is an object for my consciousness, therefore I am the consciousness, that aspect, then what is the quality of the consciousness? It has to be Satyam, means it has to be truth, which doesn't undergo any change at any point of time. The consciousness which is unchanging, not the consciousness which we are familiar with the mind, what happening in the mind. That unchanging consciousness. And then Anantam is infinitude of and this thing is not the pervasive enough of consciousness. It is the Ananyatvam, that there is nothing in the consciousness other than consciousness itself. Therefore, the feeling of the subject and the object and the knowing is a false notion based on the feeling which the mind and the sense organs are giving to us, that I am the subject. But if you look from the consciousness point of view, the subject is also consciousness, the object is also consciousness, and the knowing is also in consciousness only. Other than consciousness, there is nothing other than that. That ananyatvam, or none-otherness aspect, is more important for us to understand here.
Yeah. And all these things are to be seen in the guha aspect of the hridaya, isn't it?
No. That guha, in the heart, when it is mentioned there, we have to, in the heart is the place where we see the subject, object and knowing. And it is in that heart where the consciousness also present, which is making, due to the defect of the mind to the identification of the body, make us feel that consciousness has now split into three: the subject, object and the act of knowing. That aspect is happening in the guha, or the heart. But it is in the heart only that consciousness, pure consciousness also present. So when you remove the objectlessness or the subjectlessness of knowing or consciousness, in the heart you will be able to, in the mind, the pure consciousness is present. That can be felt and experienced by all of us. And it is being experienced by us in our deep sleep, where there is no subject, there is no object, there is no knowing of subject or object. But knowledge of deep sleep, where I knew nothing, that the individuality also not there to call by my name or sex or male, gender or age or anything like that. But my own existence as consciousness or awareness cannot be denied in deep sleep.
Yeah, that sentence was very nice. Knowing the knowing of the nothingness in the deep sleep.
Yeah.
So that is the indicator, chief indicator for these things now.
Yeah, that is the main indicator that my nature is consciousness.
Yeah.
And I was present in deep sleep.
Fine. Thank you, Binduji. And as you said, I have to listen to it again. And that craving is unending. I have to be listening. I am listening to. Thank you, Binduji, very much.
Thank you, Ganesh. Prakash, can we call it a day?
Yes. Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you, everyone, for coming. The replays of all these sessions are available first on Clubhouse, and then later you might see this show up on YouTube. So the recommended method, as Binduji reminds us, is Sravana Manana and Nididhyasana. And on that note, Binduji, we can close the room. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you all. Srini, Ganesh, Gopal, SK, and all of you in the audience. Please listen to this class again, because this fundamental the nature of the cause and effect is to be understood very clearly before we go to the creation, how the world is created. It's all from the point of spirituality, not from the physical world or the scientific world. That explanation is separate. We are not going into that direction. Don't confuse between the scientific developments, what is happening in the waking, with the spiritual happening in all the three states of waking, dream and deep sleep. The totality of the individual is in the three sum together, not the waking alone. Okay? Please understand that. Hari Om. Good night. Namaste.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Good night.